Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
What's up, gamers? On today's side quest, you're joined by me, Ryan Epps. I'm a staff writer covering TVs and AV at Tom's Guide, and I sometimes make YouTube videos on anime and gaming. When I saw that 2016's Dark Souls 3 hadn't been added to the list, I had to jump at the opportunity. Even despite the release of Elden Ring, DS3 remains ingrained in my heart and soul, as corrupted by the abyss as both might be. I started in the first month of 2020, so unfortunately I'm not a lifer, but I was incredibly excited for the PS5 Demon's Souls remake, so much so that I even busted out a PS3 to play the original. As you might expect, it just wasn't enough. In Dark Souls 3, you are the Ashen One, literally arisen from ashes, quested with retrieval of 4 of the 5 remaining Lords of Cinder. It's a tough ask, as none of them are really willing or even able to return to their thrones. At least, if all goes well, you have some say in the matter of what comes next. I remember in my first few hours playing Dark Souls 3, I got absolutely demolished by its first boss, Udix Gundyr. He's actually quite easy once you get down his moveset, to the point where I can now practically erase him in like 5 minutes. That's not to say he isn't challenging though, as I didn't beat the guy until the first day of 2021, nearly a whole year after I first started the game. And I think this very modus operandi, setting the game down and coming back to it later, is what best describes the way Dark Souls and most of its offshoots should be played. Many people like to claim that Dark Souls is difficult, but I instead like to call them challenging. They test your patience, your will to survive, to thrive, to prosper. These games, Dark Souls 3 most especially, speak to me in a way that's akin to an older brother or best friend, vying for your excellence. Hidetaka Miyazaki, the game's main creator, is not to piss you off or put you in a bind, as he too wants to see you succeed. It's why Dark Souls 3 has a multitude of ways for you to approach each varied roadblock. It's quite a compelling format of loot-ins or play, with really only you being your worst enemy through perfected dodge roll timing, healing, and attacking at the most opportune moment. As someone who has struggled with depression and drug addiction, Dark Souls 3 proves to be incredibly evocative in persuading its players to never give up. Whether it's the drunkard from Katarina or the maniacal jester that is Patches, there are several bright spots littered throughout this world of immense decay and refuge. There isn't any ego involved, it's literally you against the world, against the cycle that has seemingly wrought so much death and destruction, and will continue to long after the fire fades. The story of Dark Souls 3 and really the entire franchise might be hard to follow for a lot of people, but traces of its brilliance are there and can be witnessed in the midst of boss fights and passing dialogue, and even spelled across the environment writ large. It's all just a testament to how brilliant and unrivaled the FromSoft formula is, and how, much like the cycle in Dark Souls itself, will be ever prosperous long after I'm dead and forgotten. And while Elden Ring certainly has a slew of awesome cutscenes, looking at you, Melania, I still feel Dark Souls 3's are some of the utter best in gaming. Dark Souls 3 similarly offers some of the franchise's best boss fights. I'd even argue are better than Elden Ring's too. From the old Demon King who literally falls to his knees after giving up the last of his flame, allowing players to finish him off, to squaring up with Gale at the literal end of time, Dark Souls 3's fights are dripping with emotion and flair. They feel like they matter, music bombastic and full of life, as you have nothing else but to accept the fate that's been handed you, a fate literally no one else in the world wanted. This game is loaded with awesome intrigue and captivating dialogue. The level design, as one might expect, is bar none. I mean, 2 of the coolest areas in the game are nigh impossible to find without the help of a guide. Well, maybe that doesn't bode well for its level design then. I can sit here all day and yap about the brilliance that is Dark Souls 3. Maybe not as long as Vadi himself, but certainly days on end. My ranting and raving on it, though, won't give you as clear of a picture as playing it firsthand, and I'm trying my best not to spoil anything, even despite the fact that spoiling anything in Dark Souls is like solving the Schrodinger equation. And don't fret if you haven't played the other games, too. Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 are phenomenal experiences, but they are a bit dated. No matter the case, you really won't need them to understand what's going on in Dark Souls 3 because, and I hate to break this to you, but you're not going to know what's going on anyway. On that note, I think it's time to boot up Dark Souls 3, and honestly, I'm itching for a bout with my favorite boss in all of gaming, Dark Eater Badir. Thanks to Jeff and Matt for having me. It's goodbye for now, my fellow gamers, but I'll leave you with my final 2 cents. Don't you dare go hollow, and happy gaming.
Hey there, Screen Beans. Have you heard about Screen Snark?
Rachel, this is an ad break. They aren't screen beans until they listen to the show.
Fine. Potential Screen Beans. You like movies and TV shows, right?
I mean, who doesn't? Screen Snark is a casual conversation about the movies and television shows that are shaping us as we live our everyday lives.
That's right, Matt. We have a chat with at least one incredible guest every episode, hailing from all walks. We've interviewed chefs,
Writers, costumers, musicians,
yoga teachers, comedians, burlesque dancers,
folks in the film and TV industry,
and more.
We'd be delighted for you to join us every other Monday on the Certain POV Podcast Network.
Or wherever you get your podcasts, fresh and tasty off the presses.
What? That's not...
Can I call them Screen Beans now?
Fine.
Screen Beans!
So tune in and we'll see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere.
'Cause you're all Screen Beans now.
You will be mine. Aurora.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.